Round 1 of the 2022 NRL Premiership race tossed up some enthralling contests and major upsets, as some teams' stocks rose considerably, while others' title hopes plummeted. The Knights were the biggest risers after their dominant 20-6 win over the Roosters, while last year's grand finalists South Sydney were woeful in their loss to the Broncos. Read on for the NRL Power Rankings heading into Round 2. Stream every game of every round of the 2022 NRL Telstra Premiership season live and ad-break free during play on Kayo. New to Kayo? Try 14 days free now. Eels win another close encounter 145-16, Cowboys. Last week's ranking, 9th. Analysis: the Cowboys were arguably the most disappointing team last season given their roster, despite the fact the Bulldogs finished with the wooden spoon. Based on what they showed in their 6-4 loss to Canterbury on their home turf in Round 1, things could get a whole lot worse before they get better at North Queensland. Granted, fullback Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow nearly stole a win for his side at the, but even the winners in this game wouldn't have been too proud of their performance, and it won't scare the other 14 teams in the competition. The jury is still out on the switch of Valentine Holmes to centre, and Jason Taumalolo continues to look a shadow of the player that won the Dalí M medal earlier in his career. Townsend and Tom Dearden still look like two similar halfbacks doing the same job in one team, and Scott Drinkwater may be needed to reinvigorate their attack. Their defence was much better than the 2021 Cowboys, but unless Todd Petten can unlock Holmes and Taumalolo, the Cowboys won't be playing finals this season. Jason Taumalolo is still below his best. Source: 15, Rabbitohs. Last week's ranking, 11th. Analysis: arguably the most disappointing side in Round 1 were last year's grand finalists the Rabbitohs, who could only manage 4 points against a Broncos team that hemorrhaged tries last year, and even in the trials. It didn't take long for South Sydney to realise just how much of a gaping hole Adam Reynolds' departure has left at halfback, and now with just 2 games under his belt, Lachlan Ilias will have to learn fast. However, more disappointing was the performance of Cody Walker, who was arguably the best attacking half in the game last year, but he went missing without his old running mate in Round 1. South's defence was still solid, which will give them something to work from, and Latrell Mitchell will provide a massive boost in attack when he returns from suspension. However, where he plays and how South's cover for Reynolds' departure will make or break their season, and while it is still only Round 2, the clock is ticking. Cody Walker is already missing Adam Reynolds. Source: The Daily Telegraph. 14, Bulldogs. Last week's ranking, 15th. Analysis: it might seem a bit tough to put one of the 8 winners from Week 1 this low, but the Bulldogs were hardly convincing in their dual 6-4 win over a woeful Cowboys outfit. The Bulldogs and the Cowboys finished 15th and 16th respectively in 2021, and based on what they dished up in the season opener, it could be another long year for both clubs. However, the Bulldogs have 8 new players in their team, so it was always going to take time for combinations to come together. The best thing about their Round 1 win was holding an NRL side to 4 points, and that will give their defence, that was so terrible last year, plenty of confidence. The Bulldogs still need to unearth a halfback, and it remains to be seen if Jake Averillo can provide enough support to star recruit Matt Burton in attack. Still, a win is a win, and the Bulldogs didn't get many of those last year, so they will take it. Get all the latest NRL news, highlights and analysis delivered straight with Fox Sports Sport Mail. Now, Dogs survive late scare for Round 1 win 3-13. 13, Tigers. Last week's ranking, 7th. Analysis: the Tigers were impressive in their first outing, albeit in a loss to a Storm team that never loses in the first round, despite their wretched run with injuries. However, given the adversity the Storm faced before and during the game, it was definitely one that got away from Michael Maguire's side as they let an opportunity slip. Dane Laurie and Luke Brooks looked good in attack, as did recruit Jackson Hastings, but they still need more thrust from James Roberts and Oliver Gildart on the edges. The knock on the Tigers for so long has been their inability to produce good defensive performances consistently, and if they continue to leak 26 points a game, they won't be breaking the longest finals drought in the NRL in 2022. Jackson Hastings looked good in his Tigers debut. Source: 12 Warriors. Last week's ranking, 12th. Analysis: the Warriors clearly missed their best attacking player in Reece Walsh due to suspension in round 1, with makeshift number 1 Chanel Harris-Tavita struggling at times on both sides of the ball. Shaun Johnson missed 6 tackles and was guilty of a late kick-brain fade with the game on the line that cost his side dearly, and he now faces a month out with injury. Tohu Harris is a massive loss to the Warriors pack that can look lacking with steel and commitment at times, while Matt Lodge will bolster the forwards when he too returns from suspension. The club also lost winger Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and centre Viliama Valia to injury, which will create issues with their outside back depth. Walsh's return will do wonders for their attack, but they still need to see more from Johnson, who is out injured for the next month, while his halves partner Cody Nkoroma has been dropped this week. Harris-Tavita and Ash Taylor get the reins this week, and if they also fail to fire, it could be a long season for the Warriors. Shaun Johnson struggled in his return to his old club. Source: 11 Sharks. Last week's ranking, 8th. Analysis: the Sharks were tipped by many experts to climb into the top 8 this season, but on the evidence of their first outing, there will be some growing pains while all their new players learn their systems and develop their combinations. Losing coach Craig Fitzgibbon to COVID hurt their preparations, no doubt, but it is still up to the players to execute his game plan under pressure on the field. The loss of Wade Graham and Cameron McInnes from the pack hurts their creativity. Nicho Hynes and Matt Moylan still provide plenty of firepower in attack, but it will take time for the side to gel. Fitzgibbon's Roosters wouldn't have given up 24 points too often during his time with the Tricolours, and he will be hoping to bring that number down as the season progresses. Still, the Sharks showed they still have plenty of upside, and they will only get better with more games under their belt. Nicho Hynes looked dangerous at halfback. Source: 10 Sea Eagles. Last week's ranking, 5th. Analysis: they may have been playing a well-drilled Penrith side fresh off a drought-breaking title, but Manly were one of the biggest disappointments in round 1. Minus Nathan Cleary, the Panthers were ripe for the picking, and yet Manly barely fired a shot all night in attack, save for a long-range try orchestrated by the Trbojevic brothers on half-time. Des Hasler called out his side post-match for falling into the trap of waiting for Tom Trbojevic to inspire something, and they need much more from skipper Daly Cherry Evans and Kieran Foran in the halves, while Lachlan Croker's lack of a running game makes them predictable in attack around the ruck. The Sea Eagles clearly miss the creativity of Josh Schuster in their pack, but they have the class to get better quickly if they can iron out their defence and find new ways to take the pressure off their star fullback, so he doesn't have to do it all. Tom Trbojevic was contained in round 1. Source: 9 Titans. Last week's ranking, 13th. Analysis: the Titans were one of the most impressive sides to lose in round 1, at least in terms of their attack, but they still have a way to go with their defence. Justin Holbrook's side showcased some excellent attacking football led by new halfback Toby Sexton, who looked in control in the number 7 jersey, and replacement 5/8 Will Smith also looked dangerous with 3 try assists. David Fifita produced some brilliant moments, but Holbrook still needs to work out how to get him more involved with ball in hand, because he is such a handful when he is given time and space. The Titans were cruelled by a lopsided penalty count, but their defence still needs to be much better if they want to match the top sides consistently. Still, there was plenty to like about their first-up performance, and they can only improve when AJ Brimson rejoins the team and their spine gets more runs on the board as a unit. KFC Supercoach is back. You could win the holy grail of fantasy footy plus $50,000 cash. Play now. Raiders late try and thrilling win 142. 8. Raiders. Last week's ranking, 10th.